Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 644. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, the Duke of the Sultan of Strategery, the indestructible bridge-defying, is wondering why Sean is putting a "this vehicle for rent" sign on his car, and of course he is the elder statesman of the podcast, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
On this episode, we're going to be talking about Batman Killing Time, issue number 3, and Flashpoint Beyond, issue number 1. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
Two things I love, Sean. 50% off and hardcover. We have Batman. I Am Batman hardcover. Volume 1, 50% off, only $12.49. We have Joker Presents, a puzzle box, hardcover, 50% off, only $19.99. And we have Joker hardcover, Volume 2, 50% off, only $12.49. Thank you, DCBS.
Speaking of 50% off, over at InStockTrades.com, all of their deals of the week that I'm looking at right now are 50% off. We've got the excellent Batman vs. Bigby, a Wolf in Gotham trade paperback. If you are a Fables fan or are new to Fables, this is a great story for you to read. $19.99 regularly, 50% off, only $9.99. DC Poster Portfolio, Frank Quitely, trade paperback. $24.99 regularly, 50% off, only $12.49. These are amazing books. Justice League, if you have missed the Bendis run or would love a collected edition of it in these snazzy hardcovers, the 2021 Volume 1 Prisms hardcovers, $24.99 regularly, 50% off, only $12.49. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. We have a contest that's running right now, and it's going to be running till midnight, June 8th. This is a participation-based podcast. It's really our thank you to you. Whether you post in our Facebook group, you send us voicemails, and every one of these things offers as a single entry, so I'm keeping track of everything that people do. If you want to do a parody, comic strips, Where's What Not Nows, send us in emails with reviews or comments or commentary. If there's something I'm missing over there, was a way you can participate and help out with the show, or something that you've been doing to promote the show or something like that, let me know and we'll include you in the contest. My goal here is really, it's a thank you to any of our listening audience who's doing things to help support the podcast. The prizes are Animal Man Omnibus hardcover, Batman Earth 1, the complete collection trade paperback, Superman 78, the hardcover. First prize winner is going to get the first pick. Second prize winner will get the pick of what's left. Third prize winner will get the final prize off of that. It's our thank you to you, and I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show because they are a big help as far as this contest goes. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So, if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Spinning with great speed, the Flash creates a protective vacuum around himself.
Jim, a lot of stuff to talk about this week. One of the things that I really want to focus on is we've gotten some more idea on where DC TV is going, and I'm talking specifically the CW. So, there's projects going on for HBO Max and things like that we're hearing about, some of these smaller projects that are coming out. But the CW's, the foundational piece, I guess the Arrowverse is where I'm looking at. So Batwoman's been canceled after 3 seasons, which I'm sad because if there's any show that was like the little engine that could, it lost its lead actress. And they found a way to revamp that show, and I feel make it really work with a new actress. And I give a lot of credit to the writing team, the casting, and all the people involved for making that transition work because the 3 seasons of the show have been a lot of fun. The Flash has been renewed for season 9. And this site that I'm looking at says that, it's getting close to the end, which kind of makes sense. 9 years, 9 seasons for a show. You would think that there comes a point where there's going to be a wrap up. But man, the Flash is like, it's Arrow was the show that kicked this all off. The Flash quickly became. We used to talk about it, how it was like neck and neck between the two shows in various ways. It's funny how The Flash quickly became this really cool flagship show for that universe. Legends of Tomorrow has been canceled after 7 seasons. That one I'm really sad about because it was such an, I'm saying in the past tense, it's still going on right now, but such an unique show where they've taken characters that came from the Arrowverse, they took characters that came from the greater DC universe, then they took characters that were unique, brand new creations and made this kind of like cool team show that I've always loved. And it's one of the ones, it's funny, I don't talk about enough how much I've enjoyed Legends of Tomorrow. It's one of those shows that has surprised me by how much it's got like a different flavor and a different heart to it, if that makes any sense. And it's a show that I'm sad to see go. Stargirl, they're still waiting a word on season 4. So I'm fingers crossed because I really enjoy Stargirl, and that's that JSA geek in me. But I really think the casting and writing on that has, been strong. So I'm hoping that continues. Superman and Lois has been renewed for season 3, which is thrilling because that show's a home run and a half. So right now, the confirmed shows we've got The Flash, we've got Superman and Lois. We've also got the brand new show Gotham Knights. So that's going to be another kind of Team Universe show that's coming in that's Gotham-based. And maybe Stargirl. Naomi's been canceled after 1 season. That one I'm really disappointed in being canceled because it's only been 1 season. So I would have liked to have seen, I feel like foundationally it's been a great show. I would have loved to have seen a season 2, perhaps a season 3. Kind of like what I'm talking about with Batwoman, where at least Batwoman we got 3 seasons of content. Where Naomi, it's like we got 1 shot and done. It's like, that's really, really disappointing. I'm hoping that finds maybe new life as a miniseries or something on HBO Max, or that's the CW lineup. I look at that as they always seem to have a certain number of CW shows going. So if Stargirl's renewed, that kind of puts them at the 4 shows, which that's where we were always kind of at, right? Was 3 or 4 shows running from, at least in our tenure. I mean, it started with Arrow, but we usually had like 4 shows running. So I don't look at this as bleak, like we're getting like this different amount of content. It more seems like they're getting back to the formula of having, a good, I'm hoping 4 if Stargirl gets renewed, a good 4 shows running. And Stargirl, if it's renewed in that mid-season, like it kind of has been running, that used to happen with Legends of Tomorrow. They had 3 shows running, and Legends of Tomorrow was always like that mid-season one that came in. So if they do that, it's almost back to where they were at before, if I'm making any sense at all. So I think this is good news in the sense that we're going to have multiple DC shows, a new one in Gotham Knights. I'm excited for a Bat Universe show. I'm wondering if that led to the cancellation of Batwoman. I think so. Like there's going to be a new Gotham show, so let's axe Batwoman at this point. I kind of wish they did. I really wish they didn't because I really am enjoying Batwoman. But I'm glad to see that we're still going to have multiple programs. The Flash is the one when I'm wondering when that's canceled if Superman and Lois is gradually being groomed to be the flagship show. And that makes a lot of sense if that's the case. I'm anxious. Keep the Flash going for as long as you want to, because I just love the cast and I love the show, and it can seem to continue to evolve. But if it's getting close to the end, boy, have they given us a run. So I'm glad that I'm glad with the lineup at least. More DC TV coming. What are your thoughts? Are there ones that you're like surprised are being canceled, or where were you kind of at?
I'm very surprised that Naomi is getting canceled after 1.
Yeah,
I thought it was a solid enough show that they would give it, at least 2-3 seasons. I'm disappointed that Batwoman is canceled, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% surprised, just because I think when you think Gotham, when you think Bat, people automatically, initially jump at Bruce. And I think because the comic book fans were like, hey, yeah, Batwoman's an awesome character. This is a great show. Mm-hmm. But I think non-comic book people, who enjoy the superhero genre, I don't think they're latched on tightly onto Batwoman as tightly as we are. And I think that's what cost, that show.
So Gotham Knights is going to be, I think, about Bruce's kid, which, not Damian, but I think they're doing something.
They're going to create a kid for him and all that. Yeah,
I think is what they're doing.
See, once again, connection Bruce Wayne. That'll be the connection that the non-comic book readers who like superhero movies can latch onto.
Sure.
And that's it's. I think that is what I think probably cost it. Now, that's my guess. I don't know. But I'm like you. I'm disappointed that Batwoman's gone. I thought it was a good show. I'm very surprised with Naomi because, again, that was a solid show. I haven't seen it. I'm not completely through the thing, but I've seen a couple episodes. And it's a solid show. And I'm like, this is a solid, really cool show. I think it's definitely worth giving, at least 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Let it, flex out and see, if it can find an audience, if it can build something. It's, I think, I don't know. TV people and movie people and me don't always agree. There's a lot of times when I'm like, dude, why are you doing this when you should be doing blank? I've had that a lot of times. And that was one of the things that I loved about with Flash and Arrow. Even though I had every so often I would have little things like, I still was liking the product that they were giving out because it was still a solid show. Lois and, Superman and Lois are doing the same thing where they're tweaking things a little differently, but they're still giving us a solid family show. They're still giving us a solid Clark, Superman, Lois, the boys, Sam Lane was a great character. John Henry Irons. I'm like, oh man, this is, they were giving us some great stories. So that's why I'm glad to see Soup is, coming back again because again, it's not just a story about Superman, it's about him and his family, about the extended family. And that worked so well, they're doing a really good job with it. And again, I saw a lot of other potential that they could have had with Naomi, and I'm sad to see it go.
Fables is returning with issue number 151, and they're doing it's going to be at least a 12-part story arc. So cool. The book is continuing with it. It's a brand new adversary, new direction, but it's a continuation of the previous series. I could not be more geeking out by that announcement. I love Fables. And the idea, Bill Willingham's coming back and writing, so it's the band's getting back together. So it's like, yes, please. That Batman versus Bigby, Wolf in Gotham has been outstanding.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, and that had the itch going. I've been reading gradually, and it's hard to do this because I'm reading a lot of older stuff. So I'm gradually making my way through the Fables Deluxe editions, and I say that in the sense that it's fun every so often to just pick up, 2 or 3 issues and go through and read it and just enjoy the experience. But new stuff? Yes, please. Yes, more, please. I'm happy for more Fables, so it's great news. Jared Cardos over in our Facebook group mentioned the fact that, Batman Damned, that artist Liber Mayo, who is coming back to Gotham City with a book called Dear Detective. And the Liber Mayo drawing Batman, please,
there you go.
Please, more. Yes. Thank you much. So I was excited to see that this week is coming. He also posted over there, there's a YouTube video of a gameplay demo for Gotham Knights. And I know you're not always jumping at the whole gaming thing, but I loved the Arkham games. And I know this isn't supposed to be a sequel, but yet the storyline clearly almost takes place right after the ending events of I want to say trilogy of games, but there was a 4th game too, Arkham Origins. I loved that game series. I loved the story of it. I loved this feeling of being Batman. This one you play as all the sidekicks, and you can take your pick, the sidekicks in this open world game. So I'm just excited for this game to finally be released. It's coming out in October. And it's one of those things where in gaming I'm really big on delay it until it's right. Delay it until it's right. So this is one we've been waiting for a long time, but I'm glad they're delaying it. It's like, put it out, make it good, because we don't get a lot of these games, and when we do get them, and they're really special, I'll use over on Sony's and Marvel Spider-Man as an example. I've really enjoyed the Spider-Man game and the Miles Morales game that's coming. That same studio, Insomniac, is doing a Wolverine game, and it's like, yeah, go ahead, do more games, take your time with them, put them out when they're ready, and make them great, and then I'll just play them over and over again. And these games, everyone I'm listing is an example of the Arkham games, the Spider-Man games, are games that I've played more than once, which there's a lot of time invested in playing those games. To go through and play them again, because they're more of an open world game with all these side missions and things, it shows a lot about the quality of the game to do that, because I like variety in my gaming. So to go back to a game that I've played before, I'm not just doing it because I'm a superhero fan, I'm doing it because they're great games. So I'm a fingers crossed for Gotham Knights. I'm hoping this delivers, and it's a great game. I think that Suicide Squad versus the Justice League game is getting bumped into next year, which I'm okay with too. It's, put it out when it's time, when it's ready to go. Have you been reading that Human Target book by Tom King?
Yes, actually.
So it's delayed.
I don't think I'm current on it, but I have gotten a couple issues in.
So it's delayed until September, the rest of it. And there's going to be a one-shot in between that was just posted on our Facebook group too. So I love the idea of, hey, I'm sorry for the delay, or, here's a cool one-shot to tide you over until then. That's a neat way to, going back to the classic years of fill-in issues, do that. But it's Tom King written, so I'm like, okay, well, more Human Target. Give me a side story in between. More Tom King? Yes, please. Thank you very much. I'm very, very good. This has been a really cool week of tributes to George Perez and Neil Adams. And Jared posted a Jim Lee one, which showed a picture of, it's a cool picture of George Perez at DC, leaning over the DC logo. And it has some really cool artwork. So if you remember the Facebook group, go ahead and click over there and take a look at some of the artwork. If you don't follow Peter Rios, the Daily Rios is he's both on Instagram and he's on Twitter. He's, Comic Geek Speak, the Daily Rios. He's made countless podcast appearances. Peter is a huge George Perez fan. Going back to the early years of Comic Geek Speak, a lot of talk about George Perez, and I share his love. I am not, I've mentioned this in a previous episode, I am not as good of a poster of, images and things like that as he is. He has done these really cool tributes to George Perez. I encourage you to follow him if you're not, or check out his stuff. Just because they've been really, really unique, and it's like daily he's posting something cool. So not just about George Perez, but it's been very focused lately, and I've loved every minute of it. So just wanted to shout that out. Scott Jameson posted a link to a review, skjam.com, skjam.com, his comic book reviews. He just did a review of those Vertigo crime books. Remember those like mini-sized hardcovers where it was Vertigo was experimenting with doing those contained crime stories way back when?
Yeah.
So he just did a review of one called The Chill. Those were really good, and if you missed those, I encourage you to go check out his review. Again, it's skjam, skjam.com. Check out his review on The Chill, because those were really neat volumes, and I think it's great that he went and reviewed one of them, just, out of random. I think it's cool to take a look at some previous work that people might have missed, because we are in an era right now with the magic of eBay, with the magic of comic shops and things like that, where it's easy to seek these things out. And that was a neat experiment that Vertigo did. I wish it had gone and had some more legs to it, but that's something that's really cool. Did you hear about the new Green Lantern animated movie with Jon Stewart?
No, I did not hear about that. I've got no news. So what do we got?
Green Arrow and Hawkgirl are going to be in it as supporting cast. It's going to be coming out in July. A lot of times I miss the news on the releases, and it's important to me to get these when they come out, because I get mine digitally. I do a lot with Apple TV, so I like to go to the Apple store and then pre-order it, and then I get the email when it comes out, because it'll be like your pre-order's finally available to you. So that's how I like to do it. But obviously it's going to be available DVD, Blu-ray, things like that. So if you prefer the physical medium, it's great to get it that way. But it's Green Lantern, Beware My Power. And I think it's great that we're getting a Jon Stewart-led Green Lantern movie with Green Arrow and Hawkgirl. I was listening recently. Well, I listened to that Neil Adams podcast with Kevin Smith. It was a collection. He did this compendium of his interviews with Neil Adams. And they were talking a while back about the Hal Jordan movie with Ryan Reynolds. And they didn't trash it or anything, but they were talking about what was baffling was that they went to Hal and not Jon Stewart. And the reasoning behind it was really sound. They're like kids today. If you're trying to aim for not just adults, but a larger audience, a lot more people have watched that Justice League animated series than are reading comic books these days. So their Green Lantern is Jon Stewart from the animated series. And they were making the point saying, why was Jon Stewart, not saying that you had to throw Hal out the window, but why wasn't Jon Stewart a prominent part of that movie? Boy, was that a good point. Because I do think Jon Stewart, for a certain audience base, is a much more predominantly known character out of them. I thought it was a great point. So this, I think, is a good thing. I'm glad to see that coming out. And I think everyone.
Well, to their point, I'll be honest with you. As soon as you said Jon Stewart and Hawkgirl, first thing I thought of was, is it tied into the animated universe? That was the first thought that popped in my head because those two had such a great relationship in the animated series. So I'm all, and me, and Jon Stewart's awesome. So yay.
Did you end up reading? We talked about it, and it was something that I had no idea was going to come out. It's actually where I got where I saw the cover for the new Fables issue coming out. The Jurassic League. Did you end up picking this up, or?
I picked it up. I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
So I did.
So
I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is exactly what you think it would be. It's the Justice League as dinosaurs. But it plays into this idea of tribes and what it would be like in that era to be these heroes. And, Superman is still an alien that has come to Earth and has been adopted, so it's the tropes are there. Wonder Woman has like this unique history that is, it's basically what would Amazon history look like back then? What would Batman's history look like back then? It puts in place a lot of the elements that you would expect, but because of the fact that it's taking place in this Jurassic era, this Jurassic theme to it, it looks a little different in all the right ways. Even the villains that would appear in it have a unique story and a unique background and a unique relationship. So it pulls from comics, it pulls from movies, it pulls from TV, pulls from animation, takes the best elements of those and says, okay, what works in the Jurassic setting? It was fun. So it's one issue of 6 is out right now. It's different. It's really different than anything that I'm reading out there. I hearken it to things like, DC versus vampires and, some of the other stuff that we've, the zombie stuff that we've gotten and things like that, all of which I've adored. This has a really unique flavor to it. And it's, if you're looking for something different, the artwork's really unique. The story's really unique. First issue, and you're going to find out if this is your cup of tea or not. So do I see this being for everybody? Like any comic, it's not for everybody, nor is any comic. But there's something here for people who are looking for something different. I really enjoyed it because they play around with DC lore. And I always love things that, especially now with all the multiverse stories we're getting, this could be another planet in the multiverse. And it really feels like that. So this 6-issue series is a really, really fun attempt at, and this is an example of something that I would love to see as an animation, just because the characters kind of lend themselves. It's got kind of the charm that I love about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if I'm making any sense at all, in its presentation, but does not lose its unique DC feel. And I wanted to shout it out just because it was something that I read this week that I was just looking for something different, and it was fun. I am reading Batman Odyssey. I'm three issues in. I've got to say, I'm really digging it. And I think the piece that's really helping me was hearing Neil Adams talk about it and what he was trying to do with it. and walking in with that kind of knowledge bank. So Fat Man Beyond, Kevin Smith's podcast, I know I referenced it last episode. Seek that out. Listen to some of Neil Adams' dialogue about Batman Odyssey. Go back and revisit it if you've read it before. If not, or if you jumped off it, this would be a reason I think that'll draw you back in. Knowing what he was trying to do and thematically what he's seeing, boy, am I really enjoying this story. I also feel that I'm reading it in its collected format. It's nice to have all of it here. Because before it was released in 2 volumes.
Yeah.
And that time in between did not help. Like, it's meant to be read as a novel. I really am getting why reading it now. I know I'm only 3 issues in, but my experience with those 3 issues kind of like jumping right to them, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm seeing a lot more of the themes. And it does help having read it once before. So this is one I do encourage you not only to read, but if it's your first exposure, don't be afraid to go back and reread it, because my second reading I'm having a really good time with. And I'm going to say this, I did not enjoy it as much as the first time through. So my coming back to it, I enjoyed the artwork greatly. I enjoyed the story, but it was not one that I was going to revisit. And after hearing the interview and his what he was trying to do with the story, it really, I'm like, wow, I wanted, just because I'm a big Neil Adams fan for the artwork, I wanted to go back and read something. I was going to go back to Batman Illustrated, and I'm going to do that. Instead, I jumped to this because of his comments on it, and I'm so glad I did. It's really a good read knowing his intention. So I can't recommend enough listening to that podcast and then reading the story, just because it really increased my enjoyment, which was a shock. I don't know, where were you at on Batman Odyssey? Was it a story that you enjoyed did you finish the whole thing back in the day?
I don't think I did. To be completely blunt, I remember reading it. I don't really remember what happened in it. I don't remember finishing it.
It's very dense. It's a very, very dense read. And I say that, I want to be careful saying that, because sometimes we say that, we make it sound like it's this daunting thing and it's not. I'm not having that experience at all. I'm really enjoying it. There's a lot going on, but in a good way. It's not inaccessible. But I do feel like knowing his intention first. So I would seek out an interview with Neil Adams about it, or listen to Fat Man Beyond. Read his intention first, then go into the story. I'm having a far better experience, and really, I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm 3 issues in, I am going to finish it. I wouldn't be afraid to say, or this would go 2 ways. Either I would just mention the fact that I'm enjoying it for the great artwork, but that's what's getting me through it. I'd be happy to say that if that was what was going on, or quite frankly, if it was a story where I'm kind of like, I'm going to go on and read something else, I wouldn't really discuss it because there's not really much to say. You know what I mean? I'm really digging this, and I'm recommending it. So but I'm recommending it with a few little caveats. Like, you need to do a little homework beforehand, if that makes any sense. In a good way, though. I think the story benefits from knowing the writer's intention. And that's all I would say. And then I think you'll have a better experience. But I'd be curious to hear if anybody is doing anything like this. My plan is to really delve into a Neil Adams story, and then afterwards I want to go and read, I think I'm going to do New Teen Titans for George Perez. I just feel like reading something, we've just lost these giants, and I feel like I want to really enjoy something from both. So New Teen Titans, I think, is going to be my thing I'm jumping to next.
There it is, going into that tunnel.
Our first discussion is on Flashpoint Beyond, The Clockwork Killer, issue number 1. It's written by Jeff Johns, Jeremy Adams, and Tim Sheridan. Art by Zermanico and Mikkel Janin. Now, I'm no idea on pronunciation. It's Xermanico. So apologies if I'm completely butchering it, but I really did want to give this guy credit because I love this artwork. Color by Romulo Fajardo Jr., Jordi Belair. Letters by Rob Lay. Cover by Mitch Gerards. Variant cover by Germanico. 125 variant cover by Nick Bradshaw and Nathan Fairbairn. 150 variant by Todd Mayuk and Matt Herms. Associate editor Marquet Draper. Editor Andrew Marino. And senior editor Katie Kuber. And of course, Superman was created by Cleveland's own Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with Jerry Siegel family.
I'm going to sound like a broken record when I talk about the Batman Beyond compilation of the Neil Adams interviews. They talk a lot about Neil Adams' work with Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, and back in the days of the Superman film, and what he was trying to do back then. So if you're interested in that background story and hearing it from Neil Adams himself, it's a cool conversation with Kevin Smith about all of that and what that was like back in that time. So just because you mentioned them, it was very relevant. This is an interesting story, this Flashpoint Beyond. I read an interview with Jeff Johns this week and talking about this series. And this series is going to have major ramifications in the sense that it's going to, afterwards, series are going to spin out of this. This is meant to be it's obviously meant to revisit Flashpoint for some very interesting storytelling reasons, but out of this is going to spin back into the DC Universe some series. Not necessarily from the Flashpoint verse, but it's going to, I don't know from where they're coming from, but he was talking about how this is going to bring back into the DC Universe some characters that have been missing. Into series, new series we're going to be getting out of this. That excites me because anytime I'm hearing new series, especially with everything that's going on right now in the DC universe, I'm excited, especially bringing things back. There's a number of thematically things that have been missing in the DC universe, that concepts that if he's going to play around with relaunching some things or using this as a tool to do it, that's great. And Jeff Johns at the helm has been fantastic. So we have the Zero issue and this first issue. What did you think of this? I've been loving this mystery so far. Where are you at?
I so want the return of this as an an ongoing series. So hearing that we're going to get more spin-off of this had me doing the yes emotion in my right now.
I do want to clarify. There's nothing in there that indicates it's going to be Flashpoint that's continuing. It's that new series are going to spin out of this, meaning it could be the resolution of this leads to new series in our universe.
Right.
Here's what I don't know. I don't know that it's not going to lead to more Flashpoint stuff.
Yeah, see, I 100%, again, in Jeff Johns I trust. So whatever is going to spin out of this is going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, again, it's not only his great, he doesn't just do great writing, he lays down the line for future stuff to come down. It's never just you look at, anytime he's touched a book, anytime he's dealt with a series, it's, what you're currently reading is absolutely amazing, but then, there's room for more. He thinks he always thinks long term in his writing. Whether he's going to continue on the story or somebody else is going to pick up the mantle and carry it forward. He lays it down to give us a great beginning, middle, and end, but then and beyond. And I think that's, Gail Simone does the same thing with her writing, where I'm always, you're sitting there reading it and, okay, we got stuff that's going to come down the pipeline. There's Tom King, another name I'll throw out there right along with right along with them, that does this amazing thing where they lay out, you get this great story, but then it's set up for the future. So I'm comfortable with, hearing there's going to be more stuff. My personal preference, I would love to have it in the Flashpoint universe, because I absolutely love this universe.
So you want Thomas to lose in this then?
I want Thomas to continue on. I want to see, I want the story to continue here. I know Thomas is trying to revert it back and erase the Flashpoint universe.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
I do. I want Thomas to win. I'm Team Thomas. I want Thomas to win. Strangely, I think I'm winding up in the middle of where you're at and like the alternative. I want Thomas to live out of this, because I think Thomas is great for storytelling. He's got a quest here. I want him to. Well, I guess I wouldn't be against if they found a way for Thomas to find peace and find a way to make his world exist in the way that it should. Maybe learn from his son. There's a whole relationship going on here. Bruce's role in this is pretty critical. And that's a piece we're going to have to talk about as this story goes on. This is mainly a Thomas Wayne story, mainly. But there's some critical pieces going on with Bruce Wayne to the point where he's doing some stuff that the Time Masters are not too happy with. So whatever's happening over in the Flashpoint universe, Bruce has some form of impact on. Whether, and that's going to be an interesting piece. What is going on here in this story? I'm anxious to see where this is all going to go. Thomas, in the original story, had to be convinced by Barry that his world was wrong and make the decision to, talk about a guy who he sacrificed himself in his world.
Yep.
And wrote this like moving letter to his son. Then he came back. Now this guy has come back again. And he's like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, this is all back? This isn't right. And what he's finding is not only is his world back, but there's some killer out there that is doing something to make sure not only that this world exists, but that it cannot be it cannot be altered. This cannot be stopped. Who is doing it? That's the big mystery. Who is the one behind this, and why are they doing it? And that's something I'm really digging, because it adds a whole different tone. We're given a continuing story here of what's going on here. This story with Aquaman and Wonder Woman was gripping, because Thomas has come back now and he's like, Wonder Woman's been captured, Aquaman's taken over Britain, it's the Amazons are about to be executed, and Batman's kind of like, none of this matters. I just need that doggone lasso because I think Aquaman's responsible for all of this. So I'm going to go get my answers. And quite frankly, I'm going to free you. Whatever chaos you cause, because I'm freeing you with Wonder Woman. I love that whole bit where he's like, listen, honey, I'm going to free you from this whole scenario. I just need your lasso. I get it. You want to do your thing. I don't care. And that's you're looking at Thomas and being like, Diana's saying to him, my people have been like executed and victimized, and if I get out, I'm going to go do this. So what do I got to do? Promise I'm not going to do this stuff in order to help you? He's like, I don't care what you do, because I'm looking to end. He's not telling her directly, but we know as the reader, he's like, I'm looking to end all this. So you can go ahead and do whatever you want to. That's all well and fine. And if she knew what he was trying to do, she would have killed him on the spot.
Yes.
I mean, that's where he's dancing a very dangerous line. She would have been like, you basically, the real threat to her efforts was standing in front of her, and she didn't know it. She thought it was Aquaman, which is true, but he's a lesser danger to her world than the man standing in front of her. It was really, really a great deep sequence where I was like, wow. If Diana had any idea what was going on there, she would have ended him like that. I mean, it would have been so cool. It's just neat to read this story. I'm loving this. Every page is like just wow.
One of the things I'm loving about it is the stuff that we know from the real universe versus what's going on here. Like Linda being the broadcaster. The restaurant is Bertinelli's. So it's got to be Huntress's people. Just the Oswald and Bruce and Thomas relationship. I absolutely love the fact that Penguin is his right hand man, and he's his trusted friend. There is no Alfred in this universe. There's Oswald there, and I absolutely just love the way this stuff is coming out, and just these little bits like that is one of the things that really gets me. On top of everything you said about how Thomas is just this great character, where part of the reason I want him to fail is because I love this universe so much. I don't want it to go away, but I do want to see him. For him to have his redemption, he needs to not exist. And I think that for me is a real definitive statement of the hero. He sacrificed himself once before. He knows what he needs to do. He needs to sacrifice himself to make things better for his son. And I loved how this guy remembers all of the prior failings. So he remembers everything that he dealt with in Justice League Incarnate. He remembers everything that he did with World of Bane. He remembers everything he did prior Flashpoint, and in Flashpoint, all that stuff. This character knows all the failures he's had. And that, for me, is just that driving motivation that he has. And in the end, I think he's going to win, but I don't want him to, unfortunately. It's one of those weird things where part of me wants him to win, and erase this from existence because I want this character to have his moment of peace, but I don't want it to happen because I love this universe.
Time is a very interesting piece right now, and the fact that we've got murders of people like Abracadabra that happened in the Zero issue. Professor David Clinton, Jeffrey Smith. There's people that are being killed that become involved in time or have powers that could lead them to somehow control time. The victims are very, very specific in the Zero issue, and that Zero issue is not a throwaway. It wasn't just, Barry's death. Barry's death was yet another one that's been killed. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that Zero issue because there were some key murders that happened during that were pretty critical. Somebody's trying to kill off people who have the ability to change this. Whether they're good guys, bad guys, whatever is irrelevant. It's could they be convinced that this world is wrong and aid Thomas? Is this a direct attack on Thomas? Is this a direct, what is driving this? It's a very interesting sort of piece. I really, really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah, that was the neat thing about that Zero issue. Yeah, everything you said, how it, especially going Zero, then rereading, because I reread the Zero after rereading one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you see those little connections on what could fix, who could fix it, and it's. And again, I keep saying fix it, but I don't want it to happen. I want this universe to last. I want to see how they deal with the Amazons. I want to see how, Thomas actually leads a Justice League to fight Wonder Woman's people. Or so I don't know who could do it. Maybe the Superman can make his appearance and do something towards this. I don't know. There's a lot of neat stuff that this universe could go with, but. In the end, I think we're going to figure. Well, Thomas will figure it out, but I don't know, man. I've been trying to figure out in my head who could possibly be doing this, and I don't know for certain right now. I don't even have a guess. And I think that's for me the exciting on this. That I really don't have a guess. I don't have a theory on who's behind this. Who is the Clockwork King? And I was even thinking, could it be someone who's had a prior Clockwork, mindset to them? I don't know.
What role do Mime?
I think that's awesome.
And what role do Mime and Marionette and their kids play in this?
Well,
because both kids are
their
referenced.
Role is done.
Really?
They got Bruce. They got Bruce what he wanted.
Even though they're kids on the board, because when they're referring to Clark and Sally,
mm-hmm.
Clark is their kid. And Sally's who their kid was left with.
Right.
So find Clark and Sally before they do. Who's they? And why are they trying to find Clark and Sally? Is that a throwaway for this series? I don't know. These chalkboards are not. So I don't know that their role is done in this. Or, is it... Yeah, I don't know. I've got answers. I've got questions there. Only because they're on the chalkboard.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm an idiot. I forgot the kid's name was Clark. I was thinking Clark as in Clark Kent.
No, Sally's the giveaway. Sally was who their kid was left with. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself in the head for that one. I was thinking Clark. I was thinking Clark Kent. I was thinking Clark Kent in the Flashpoint universe. I
like the naming of the Divine Continuum. The DC little nod over that. I thought that was clever because that's never. I don't think that's been used before this series before as a way to explain all of this, and I thought that was a cool thing to put in place. Little wink and a nod for the fans. Now DC means something else. Divine Continuum, it basically is a way to look at the whole universe. I thought that was pretty cool.
Now, with everything going on with the Dents, they're all gone except for the one son now. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, part of me is like, is the boy, the surviving, Dent kid, mm-hmm. is he going to play a role in the future of this universe?
Yes, because he's going to have a very successful home remodeling show.
Yeah.
Because people are just going to love watching the way he tears down rooms. Because we see that as due to his active training from Oswald Cobblepot,
yes.
He's pretty darn good at it. The problem is he doesn't really tear down the room, perhaps in the way that you wish.
Yeah. But part of me is seeing a Robin, Flashpoint, Robin right here in the making.
I don't disagree with you. I think he's going to be a very complicated character. I definitely think the character has a role in this. I'm not quite sure what that role is yet. Obviously, what happens when he finds out what happened to his family? And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this kid. Because it's a very, very twisted world. So, I don't know. I would love to see the Flashpoint Batman have a Robin of some sort. This kid would be kind of fitting to be his Robin in some strange way. It's funny. It sounds like I'm disagreeing with you, and I am to a certain extent where I want Thomas to succeed in this because I think how Thomas succeeds would be so fascinating. Yet I love this world too. So I say that, and I feel wrong saying it, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm rooting for Thomas, but I am with you in the sense that more Flashpoint stories are always great. I just see this as Thomas's stamp on this world now of this world is wrong. I don't know what it would take for Thomas to feel otherwise, or if he ever could. It's an interesting sort of thing. I'm enjoying I'm glad this is a 6-issue series because I'm enjoying this journey. And wow, this coming out right now, it's interesting timing.
I got a theory.
Okay.
And I don't think, and I want to throw this out there, I don't think this is the case.
Okay.
But I have a theory on this. What if Bruce is the bad guy? Whether it's, I don't think Bruce is trying to conquer or destroy the universes, but what if in all these actions and all this stuff he's doing, what if he's the one who's creating, if he's the one who recreated the Flashpoint universe, if he's the one who's behind all this stuff kind of, and again, I don't even know how he would do it without, because people are dying, and we know Bruce wouldn't do that. But what if the stuff he started has triggered this?
What if he's trying to prevent his father ever having come here?
Yeah, because if his father never comes to Gotham in the first place, Alfred would still be alive.
Right.
So what if that's Bruce's plan?
I don't know.
So instead of Bruce is trying to do his own version of Flashpoint.
He wouldn't kill.
Instead of saving his parents, he's saving Alfred.
Yeah, but he wouldn't kill though. Bruce would not be so like the death of Barry Allen. There's no way I'll buy into that. The death of Barry Allen over there would be something that Bruce would be responsible for. He wouldn't. But
me too.
But Flash came there because he felt something. He felt Thawne being back and went to Bruce. There's some kind of connection there. Whatever's going on, Flash is picking up on something wrong with time, and he came to Bruce because of the button and everything that happened with them there. So there's something going on. Bruce is up to something.
Well, Bruce has the watch.
Right.
That's like the button. That's the crossover piece. Another crossover piece, and that's why I'm wondering if Bruce is triggering all of this stuff.
And he's got the snow globe. He's got the snow globe too.
Yeah.
So they're two important pieces. I don't know. It's a very, very interesting. Whatever he's up to, whatever he's trying to do, there's two storylines going on here. They're converging in some way. There's what's going on with Bruce and there's what's going on with Thomas. They are not disconnected.
No.
So the question is, how are they connected? What is going on? None of the murders I don't feel Bruce is responsible for directly. If they're happening because of anything Bruce has done, the result of them is accidental. It's going to be interesting to see where this is going. Because, yeah, Bruce would... I cannot, on any planet, believe that Bruce would intentionally kill and set this up. I actually would be very angry if that's where this story was going. It also contradicts that he's a different Batman than Thomas. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he needs... In order to be this inspiration for Thomas that he's been, where Thomas is like, I've gotten it so wrong, it would be contradictory to the story. So that's not what's happening here. Bruce is doing something. The question is, when we know it, are we going to agree with what Bruce is doing or disagree? I'm not 100% sure. It's, or is Bruce really being successful in what he's trying to do? Or is he playing with forces that he doesn't understand? And there's a lot going on here. That's what's great about this story. I feel there's a lot of possibilities in this mystery, and that's what I'm enjoying about it. And boy, I'm also realizing, I'll use an example over the Marvel end. You read Age of Apocalypse.
Yep.
When they revisited that story, it was great to see that universe again. My answer, if you were to say, would I want Age of Apocalypse to continue and be ongoing and all of that? No. But yet, there's always storytelling reasons to go back to it. You know what I mean? Where you can do stuff like this, where somebody can put together a story like that and give me more of it. And that's more of what I'm looking for. I think you can diminish sometimes a story when you go back to that without like a real purpose. Could Jeff Johns craft this into some form of ongoing universe or ongoing story? 110%. Would I read it? 1,000%. If the premise is there for it to be continued and be ongoing. So this has happened in the past where something has been a concept that people liked, and then they, without any form of substance to it, they find this false way, if I'm making any sense, of extending it, and it never really goes well. It actually diminishes what came before. I don't want to see that with Flashpoint. So I would be all for this continuing if there's a reason for it to, like there's some legs to it. I don't know that that's what's happening here. I know for sure that Jeff Johns has a 6-issue miniseries out of him in this. I don't think Jeff Johns is looking to do an ongoing. I'm saying him writing an ongoing. And I think it's not accidental that this series has a writing team, in the sense that Jeff is kind of... And I could see that if there is an ongoing, I could see an ongoing spinning out of this that Jeff Johns takes on that role, where he is part of a writing team. So that way he can, do the plotting or things like that, be more of a consultant, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And be able to do other things. So if that's where this is heading, and this is going to lead, I'm hoping it leads to some form of ongoing like that. Because here's the thing, Jeff Johns' comic work continues to be outstanding. Did you read Geiger?
Yes. Oh, God, yeah.
Geiger was outstanding. So, this is outstanding. He continues to be an important voice in comics. So if it's working in this method is going to keep him, with a foothold in comics, yay, do more of this. I'm cool with it. So I don't know where this is going, but I'm in. I'm very torn on this being a continuing piece. I want substance if it's going to. I don't know that that's what he was saying. It could be, but I think more of what he's trying to do is what Jeff Johns does. He tries to take stories like this and launch classic concepts, and I don't know.
And this could just be characters from this universe bleeding into our universe.
Sure.
And again, that, me, I'd be happy with that as well. And again, the main person I really do want to see around is Thomas. I like this character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, I want him to have peace, because he's a killer. He has done a lot of really bad stuff. So I shouldn't want him to have peace. I should want him to suffer and torment. But there's just something about that. There's something about this guy that I'm like, I want him to have his redemption. Like when we read Justice League Incarnate, that was his redemption. You really got to see him, become the hero and rise up to be the hero. But he's made so many mistakes that, you really can't, excuse some of them. And it's one of those neat things about a character like him, where you want him to be a good guy. You want him to be a hero, but how do you ignore the nasty stuff he did? Yes, he did not directly kill Alfred, but he did, lay down the groundwork for Alfred to die. Yes, he's directly killed multiple people in his universe. All of it in his line, in his mind, doing, taking out the bad guys, instead of just beating them up, locking them up so they can escape, he kills them. So he's that version of Batman. So I'm like, but there's just something about this guy. I'm like, I want to see him around some more.
I like this idea of the divine continuum. that they're talking about, because what they're really doing is they're taking concepts that we've known, like the omniverse, the multiverse, the dark multiverse, the metaverse, the sphere of the gods, hypertime, which was a really important concept introduced in the Flash books years ago, and saying, and I love when writers do this. They're like, okay, all these concepts have been introduced. In some cases, they've been used to explain away things, and other, so that way the current continuity at that time works, if that makes sense. What I love is when you got a good writer, and Jeff Johns is really good at this. We're seeing this now with what's going on with the Build the Dark Crisis. Let's explain how all of this works, so that way all of these toys are in play. The Divine Continuum offers that opportunity. And I think this is just a really cool concept. I always applaud writers when they do that. It's why when we do continuity changes and stuff like that in comics, I don't lose a lot of sleep over it, because you know that these concepts that are introduced that sometimes involve like reboots and relaunching and, shelving things for a while, you know that there's going to be writers going to come along who's going to do this kind of wacky stuff where they're like, listen, you ever thought about the Divine Continuum? No. Only you would think of the Divine Continuum. But thank you for doing it, because I'm geeking out over it.
Yes.
Because what you're telling me is everything I've read before matters. The Build the Dark Crisis is doing that too. So I look at the Divine Continuum, I geek out. Because what that tells me in a single page of a torn page of a book, it's right above this, find Clark and Sally before they do. All that stuff being on the same page means that everything that happened before, everything we've read before has happened. It all counts. Every book. So that kind of stuff, it always makes me smile. These events, these crises, these crossovers, flashpoints, all this kind of stuff. Your best writers that do these are really trying to find a way to have an event that allows you to play with more toys from the sandbox. And that's what this is. This feels like that to me. When you're sitting there saying, like, I'd like out of this Flashpoint to still be a thing and still exist, I don't really have a strong feeling of I don't want that to be a thing, other than I don't want it diminished. Because Flashpoint, like with these events and how contained they've been, has been kind of special. It's one of the reasons why I think you love it so much. And I agree with you. So I'm nodding along. My reluctance at having it ongoing as a universe is I like that special place where it's the universe that's wrong.
Yeah.
And like you want it to end because it ending means that because it's a sidestep from our universe, which means it ending means that our universe exists. If this is ongoing, I guess what I need to see from this is how is that possible if it's not impacting our universe?
I agree. And it's funny because as I'm saying, I want it to continue. I don't want it to continue, but it's such a cool story.
Yes, it is.
And that I think is one of the things that makes me want it to continue on. And in the end, I think it's going to cease to exist. I really do. And I do wonder though, what is Bruce doing? What is his motivation? Again, my thought is he wants to bring Alfred back. He's doing his own version of Flashpoint to bring Alfred back, to make it so that his father never existed. But again, we learned with Flashpoint that kind of messes things up. And the Flashes are going to figure out what he's doing.
Well, he's making. Is he potentially? What you're postulating is that what's potentially happening here is that he is doing what Barry did.
Right.
He's making the same mistake.
But what he's doing is preventing Barry. Maybe he's trying to prevent Flashpoint from ever occurring.
Maybe.
So stopping Barry, but again, how would Clark? How would Bruce do that? That's the question. Now he's Batman, so he can do a lot, and he is a smart guy. He's got his strategy, but what is his plan? And I think that's as I throw out all these theories, I'm not even 100% sure on them. I can't say, I 100%. I'm not. These are more of just guesses, and I think that is the part I'm enjoying so much about this story, that I don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can pick, saying, I think it's going to go this route, and you're kind of that. This one, I'm like, no, I have no idea where they're going with this.
And the Dent family story is far from done.
Oh, God, no. Yeah,
because Harvey's dead, but his wife is not. So
I thought his wife died, too.
I don't think so. I think she's still alive.
Because the kid is with Bruce, you know.
But I think
Oswald offers his condolences.
About the dad dying.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So Mom's on the shelf. I believe there's a reason
Mom
why.
had her mental issues going on with the kid, so that could be why Bruce has the kid.
Right. Well, Thomas has a kid.
Yeah. I keep throwing that out there. Sorry.
Yeah. But, so Mom, I think, is still a factor in all of this. So, you know, what's that? I don't think that's going to just go away. I think there's going to be something to that. Wow. This is just a cool story. It's why I wanted to do this, because I feel like this is one we're going to jump back in and check in on along the way, because I think this is just, everything's been Dark Crisis, Dark Crisis, Dark Crisis, and then it's like, but this is going on now too. Yeah. and I love that. We've got a great summer ahead of us. I mean, this kind of stuff kicking off, this is great. So I'm excited for this event. This is something, you know, the next few months. I mean, you figure we got another 5 months of this, and we've got Dark Crisis. Please. Yeah. This is, woof.
Like a human helicopter, the Flash rotates his body, rising faster.
Our next discussion is going to be of Batman Killing Time, issue 3, written by Tom King, art by David Marquez, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, letters by Clayton Cowles, cover by Marquez and Sanchez, variant cover by Kaelngu, ratio variant cover by Greg Smallwood, edited by Ben Abernathy, Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger, and apologies in advance for any name butchery off of that. This was one of those miniseries that in Tom King I trust. So when I saw Tom King's doing a Batman miniseries, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm in. I just want to read this and enjoy it. Boy, there are things that were introduced here that I need to not only be canon and lore, but need to occur from. He created the absolute coolest additional new villain off of this one. The Help rocks. I mean,
dude, man, I so want the Help to be in the universe.
What a cool, I mean, this is obviously earlier days of Batman, you know, so he's had training, he's been operating, but he's, you know, not today's Batman. The Help's like, listen, you want to advance your skills? Come see me. And that's where it's kind of like his allegiance is, it's hard to say, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? He is a gun for hire in the truest sense, and kind of tired of that. He's at this point, you know, he's like, listen, I have made my whole career and done my whole life on being this person that lives for others and customer service in a very dark world where I've got a particular set of skills. I do them well. And you know, they involve doing some really horrible things for other people to make them happy and make their plans come to fruition. What is it that I want? Which is something that he's never really taken a look at. He's grown tired. He's very old, too, which is the cool thing about him. There's this idea that he's much older than his skills and talents and ability to move hint at. That's a piece where he's like, my sell-by date's coming. In his eyes. But we've got this cool quest where everyone's going after this prize, this little box. And the question is, what is this little box? What is this item? And you get why historically when somebody dies, they would try to find this because it's the eye of Christ. Wow, I did not expect this to lead that's the artifact that they're looking for. We've got Catwoman and the Riddler, and there's a Joker element in this piece. Oswald Cobblepot. Everyone's rushing for this thing. It's big money. They're looking for the right kind of buyer for this thing, and you get why people would be willing to spend, you know, endless amounts of money for this. It's a unique prize and a unique caper. Wow. We're 3 issues in. We're halfway through this thing, and I feel like we've gotten just a ton of content that needs to stick around. And a wicked cool Batmobile, by the way. Former Batmobile.
Former Batmobile.
Well, that was a part of this piece. everything about this, pacing, the writing, the elements of lore that they've not only taken from DC history, but new pieces that they've put in. There's so much out of this that I want to continue on. Did you see that Daryl Taylor was in one of the issues too?
No, where?
He was one of the security guys or something like that came in.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah, he used Daryl's name in there. I thought it was way cool. I think it was issue 2 where he was in.
Oh, neat.
And it was a cool little sequence to see Daryl Taylor giving the little wink and the nod there. I thought that was cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You know, I love those kind of things. I love those moments when people are pulled into the books, and when creators are pulled in. When just just those little extra. It's like kind of always whenever you see on the corner of Siegel and Schuster, or on Kane Street, and just things like those little tie-ins and those connections. Those are always things I enjoy.
Here's where it was. 2 months earlier, on January 18th, Catwoman robs Brindle's fine jewels. Security guard Daryl Taylor is pointing a gun at her. And
nice.
So it was just a wink and a nod. That's our boy Daryl, and
nice.
That was
awesome.
That was really nice of Tom King to put him in like that. I think that stuff always makes me smile.
Cool. Now I'm loving the dialogue, the inner dialogue. On March 4th at 6:05 p.m., Catwoman's foot is halfway down the accelerator. At that point they clock at 137 miles per hour. She puts her foot down, farther, the engine roars. Those little bits, it's kind of like going back to the old TV shows, just where they have that over the commentator, the dialogue, just the narrator coming through there. I like that in this. I think it fits really well. Their style, their groove that they're doing with this really fits the story, especially when they introduce, the help. And I'm assuming this is Bruce's dialogue. And this is Bruce talking about it, writing it down on his journal and the events that happened. It's how I'm reading it.
At March 4th on 6:07 p.m., Catwoman's foot is halfway down on the accelerator. How would he know that?
Because he's Bruce. He's Batman. Come on.
It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know who I don't know who would be the narrator there if it's just purely narration balloons.
And the reason it gets me at Bruce is the dialogue around the help. As far as I can tell, he most often referred to himself as the help. It's rare that I do not know something.
So it's him going back and analyzing the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm not arguing with it. Your answer when I even asked the question that I asked as far as how would Bruce know that? Because he's Batman. And actually, from a detective standpoint, you would be trying to replay the events and what was going on in order to put things in a chronological order. So I could see him doing that. I actually don't disagree with your answer. I think it's not just because he's Batman. It's because he's a detective and he has that skill set to draw it in. I get it. It's kind of cool because he would try to reconstruct like what happened to my Batmobile. That would be a thing. It made a lot of sense, too, for Catwoman and the Riddler. Riddler's shot by the help. And the only thing that saved the Riddler at that point in time was Batman showing up on the scene and fighting the help. Because it gave them not only the getaway vehicle, but it bought him time. Because he and Catwoman, neither of them would still be around if it wasn't for the fact that Batman showed up on the scene. It delayed the help from being able to get to them.
Right. Oh, big time. Bruce saved them completely. And again, I liked how in this last issue, I thought Oswald was a dead man.
Yeah.
Like they just killed off the Penguin. Holy crap. And then this issue, you see him, how messed up he is, but he's still alive. And I love when he just scrawls out, "Get the help, kill them all." I'm like, oh, this page, with Oswald in how nasty shape he is, just how he's barely able to scribble it. Again, Sardine, Mr. Sardine is another character that I'm like, I like this guy. All right, I hope he survives.
Well, and I'll tell you one reason why I'm glad he survived. I'm glad that Oswald is surviving in this. I want him to survive because I want this story in continuity.
Yeah.
Because of the help.
Yes.
No, I want this to be an event that has in fact happened. So it's fine. Let's make this lore. Let's make this a part of the history. Oswald needs to live. Riddler needs to live. I hate to say that I want the help to not succeed, because I got to be honest with you, I found myself rooting for him because hoorah, help is cool. But I don't want him to succeed in killing them because of the fact that I need this to be a character that will perhaps appear in the future, because he's awesome. And that here's the thing, whether or not he does, you look at stories like Batman Year 2 with the Reaper and stuff like that. Sometimes there's characters that, yes, they will appear again, but they're not going to be... It's kind of what I said about Flashpoint earlier. Sometimes you should be wanting them to continue. They may appear again, but it's going to be for very special reasons, so that way they're not diminished or overused. Let's use Hush as an example. Hush kind of has the same problem that Bane had for a while, where Bane was used really, really well for a period. And then the character seemed to lose his way. Then we had some writers who picked the character back up again and found some ways to explore him and bring him back to what he should be. And then now we've got, because I feel like his appearances now are great. You and I both loved him in Secret Six. But I don't feel like he's always been used in the right way. We've lost the strategy of Bane, if that makes any sense from time to time. The guy who was able to break the bat because of the fact that he broke him down psychologically and physically before he broke him in the way that he did it. So Hush had the same thing. Hush was like this really cool concept, and then he was almost overused and lost some of his charm. And I do think Hush is a character that can be resurrected and reused and brought back to its core of what made Hush cool. The Help's the same thing. This is a character that I want to see again. Like, I already know it from, my gosh, that fight. I want to see round 2. I want to see round 3. I want to see round 4 with the Help. I think the trick with the Help, though, is he's a character that's got to come back in for very special purposes and sometimes be on one side, sometimes be on the other, and only be used in the right kind of story. Because he's got to be this special enigma. And he's an enigma right now, and wow, this is a character I'd love to see on screen.
Ooh, yeah, he'd be a good one. And one thing I loved about that epic battle between them, I love how he's breaking down all the stuff that Bruce did.
Yeah.
So that again, he says throughout this how he is older, and he's not going to say how old he is, but he is older. And I love how he not only trained with these people in their prime, he trained with them before they were something. Like, Descartes is one of those things. I love how he noticed that. Then he saw the Ra's al Ghul kick, and he's like, "Oh, this is something I learned from Black Canary." Bam, And I love just how he was just playing that. And
he beat Ted Grant. He beat Wildcat.
Yeah, he won,
but thought he was going to lose. But thought he didn't bet on himself as much as he would have because he thought there was a chance he was going to lose.
Yeah, I know. I love this guy. This is just within one issue, within a couple pages, I'm 100%. We got to have this guy around, and I don't know, man. It's like, this for me is just one of those completely surprised out of nowhere. I didn't think this. I was like, oh, okay, what a cool Batman story time. Yeah, all right, I'm in. But I wasn't excited and jazzed. And then you read the first issue, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. With each issue, I'm getting more and more excited towards the ending. This is doing a great job of building where they're going. Now that we know what's in the box, because the whole time I'm like, what's in the box? Come on. It was driving me nuts that we didn't know. And now we finally learned that that's huge. That's the Eye of Christ. And I'm like, a lot of debate can happen whether it could actually, because there's a lot of religious connotation that could go on there. Throwing that out, just looking at just how cool of an idea that it is to have that in there and what that really means. That's the eye of God right there. What does it mean to possess that? The fact that Bruce had that in his possession, and the fact, Ra's al Ghul first had it, gave it to Bruce because he's his one true heir. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is like holy crud. When I read that, it took me a second. I actually paused. Am I reading that correctly? Oh my God, that's huge. And I love the fact that came into play on issue 3, where we learn what it is. It's like this has just been building so great.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the piece where I actually love the way that time is used in this, where sometimes events, like you're given an event and then we go back and explain how we got to that event. And this story will constantly like drop you into something and then take a step backwards and go, well, this is when that happened. It's very cleverly crafted, where I think that the storytelling choices were really, really smart on this one. Just kind of like going, hey, we're going to plop you into this event and then make you go, well, but how did that, what is in his hand? What is in that box? And then you're like, oh my gosh, he gave it to him there. And I liked that reveal. I liked, versus if you had reversed the 2 pages, I don't think it would have the same kind of impact. So there's some unique storytelling choices that are done here that I thought were just really, really smart for pacing and to build that anticipation that you're talking about where, oh, that is so cool. Yeah. This had so many of those moments in it. And I think it wouldn't work in every story. It works really well in this story. Catwoman is a great character in this. Boy, does Tom King understand that character and how to write her in various eras, because you know, he's obviously in the Batman Catwoman series, he's been doing a great job of showing Catwoman through various, you know, stages of her life. This is a great example of being able to say, this was Catwoman at this stage, what she was like then. And there's an interesting sort of, you know, taking a look at who she was as a person. Even, you know, the fact that she could have left Eddie Nygma to die there. She didn't do it. She does recognize, though, that, listen, if I keep carrying you, we're both dead. Yeah. We need a vehicle. I loved how that all played out. But she does have a heart to her that's unique and, you know, a certain ethic and morals to her that's really, really cool.
Well, she is the thief, not the killer.
Right.
You know, and I always like that when they show that. But also, she is intelligent. She knows that she's going to need Riddler to secure another buyer. You know, this isn't something that's simple. You know, she'll be able to pass off to her regular fence. She's going to need Riddler for that. And I think she's also recognizing the level of, oh my God, what we're up against now. Because before, you know, you think back to the first issue, she was worried about Batman finding them. She's like, you know, he's going to find us. You know, he's going to, you know, when they're hanging out at the safe house, she's like, we shouldn't be here. He's going to find us. And of course he does. But they weren't planning on the help. And I think that for me was a wonderful thing I loved about this, because I remember last issue when they showed Riddler answering the door and they didn't show who it was. I immediately thought it was the Joker.
Yeah.
I didn't think, again, this is a brand new character to help. So didn't know to expect him in there. So I was like, you know, that's one of the things that really got me going, oh my God, I was expecting the Joker. I got something better, you know, than the Joker. This guy is awesome. Now, add to that, you know, just, again, Catwoman, you know, the intelligence of Catwoman, she knows I need more than just me there. Yeah. Now, in the end, would she take off? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think she and Riddler she's got enough of a code that you don't leave a business partner behind. But, you know, I don't know. In the end there, it may be everyone for themselves. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, because, again, this is a young Catwoman. This is Batman Year 5 is the way I'm looking at it, because they talk about how with the Ra's al Ghul training sequence, you know, it was 5 years ago that he was training with Ra's. And to me, I always look at his time with Ra's as his last training before he returns to Gotham to become Batman. So to me, this is Batman Year 5. So that means it's Catwoman Year 3, you know, Riddler Year 2, 3, you know, kind of thing. They're just new into the game as well. So sure. I like seeing these younger versions of the hero, but also the younger versions of the villains.
Well, I guess from what you're saying, at the latest, it's Batman Year 5. If he went on and did additional training after Ra's, you know, depending on when that happened, or stayed with Ra's longer than what we're seeing there, because Ra's is talking about the fact that he left. You know, given some time that he would have developed Batman, it'd be interesting to see, is it really Batman Year 5? Yeah, it's at the latest, it's Batman Year 5.
Right. At the most, it could be. You know, it's probably more like Year 4, Year 3.
Sure. I love that. I liked the John and Clara story, where you got kind of an idea of this kind of tease before you really know what the eye is, or what's in that case, where he's like, listen, I'm taking this thing, and he knows it's sacrilege. This is just something that he loves his sister enough that he's willing to take this risk because he feels like this will bring her back. So buries her in there, expecting that this is going to cause her to resurrect.
Yep.
And he's so driven by faith that that's what's going to happen, that he will not eat, not sleep, not drink. He is waiting there for her. Collapses and dies from exhaustion, malnutrition, dehydration, all of that stuff. And that's the end of his story. It's such a cool, like it's dark, but such a cool piece. I added a whole element. I liked the help's handling of the penguin.
Yes.
The penguin told him everything you wanted to know.
Big time.
You ask, let's go ahead. Because, and you see it from the look in Oswald's eye. Oswald's a survivor. Oswald is going to squeal if he's got to squeal to survive. He will do whatever he needs to do. He's an opportunist in that end. So it's interesting how the help's kind of like, listen, I'm going to still fulfill. I have given you the money that was still left there. I took my fees, only my fees. But here is your money. Now, I will finish this job exactly like I've been promising you that I will do. But aside from that, I have some needs. I have some wants. I have some desires. I need to know what you're trying to buy with all that money. It's kind of like, okay, the help's going to get exactly the information that he wants.
Dude, I'll tell you, man, that's, again, I absolutely love just how, again, it laying out, going through the different, the timelines, jumping back and forth through the different path of the eye. And it is weird. I do think about it, and I'm like, on one hand, I absolutely love that it's, this is something no one's ever even brought up. An artifact, actually a body part of Jesus Christ. And that's something I don't ever remember seeing that. We've got the Spear of Destiny has been part of it. The Grail has been a part of multiple stories. But the actual eye is something I was like, wow, that's, and the deeply religious philosophers will say, no, that's not possible because his body fully transcended to heaven. There were no remains. The shroud is available. The spear, the Grail, those things were left behind. But any part of his physical body would not be behind.
Catwoman has the eye.
Yes, I know. I love seeing that. I know, and I tell you, and it's one of the things I'm like in my head. I have all that going through, but I absolutely love this.
But now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I was reading some of that. I'm like, this is kind of cool. I was going back to that lore too. I'm like, well, wait, but I don't think that's the way that happened.
Right. But I still love this.
I did too. I'm with you where I was thinking the same thing, and it wasn't a criticism. It was. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. How did it happen in the story? He's postulating, but this is what really happened. This is what you don't know. And it does play with religion. It plays, and I like that. I like when writers aren't afraid to do that. And that's what he's doing at the moment. He's taken some artistic license, and I like that.
Well, it's kind of like with the Phantom Stranger.
Yep.
How it's the 13 coins. The 13 pieces of silver. And how the Phantom Stranger actually is Judas. Because he betrayed the Lamb, and this is his punishment. And I loved the first time I read that. I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. I absolutely loved that. I thought that was an absolutely brilliant story. And I thought, stuff like this, I do enjoy when they tie this, when they tie that into this. And again, there's going to be people who will be offended by this just because of the religious connotations and just the religious doctrine and just, our faith. Yeah, I understand that. And again, for me, I think this is just a great story. I want to see what happens with the eye and what happens with this story. I'm like, this has me so 100% all in on this. I was, every issue kept getting me more and more and more excited. This again, issue 3 built it up going, oh my God, I absolutely love this. And the ending of this, is, a woman looks into the eye of God. And just the way they did it when she opens up the box and, the glow is, shining on her face. I'm like, holy crap, man. That's just like, that's epic.
Let me tell you how this story has affected me. And it's a way that might surprise you because I really, I'm taking this very seriously. When I park now, I leave milk and cookies in my Jeep. Just in case Mr. Batman wants to take it. I loved the motorcycle sequence where he left him, what was it, $97,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
And a note,
over the value.
And a note for the Jeep. Yeah. Like, the note in and of itself, with thanks. I would say more than thank you, but like, in Mr. Batman or something.
Yeah, and that's way over the blue book, by the way.
Yeah. No, that's great. It was
that's nice of him. That's really nice.
That was really, really nice of him. It's like, I'm looking at, Mr. Batman take, but that's why I said I'll leave him milk and cookies. It's like, listen. So Batman, if you're listening to this and you want a Jeep, you're welcome to take mine any point in time. There are milk and cookies waiting there for you. If you have a preference, message me. I can do that. Oatmeal, chocolate chip, whatever you want.
Now, I would say he's a classic. Chocolate chip cookie.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go.
You don't think oatmeal? You don't think Alfred would do like oatmeal raisin for him or anything like that? You think it really would be the chocolate chip, huh?
Yeah, I just got this. He seems like a chocolate chip kind of guy.
I'm not arguing with you on that. I actually could see the point. I almost wonder if I should give him like a variety pack in case he has a guess.
That would be better.
It would be.
Now, or actually, you know what else? I think he'd dig Oreos.
But here's the thing, the problem.
I know that's Martian Manhunter.
So. Well, I know. And here's the thing. I'm afraid if I leave Oreos in there that he'll take them. I don't see Martian Manhunter leaving me $97,000.
Right. No,
like,
I don't see
there is a financial component to this. Like, listen, it's way cool to have a superhero steal my Jeep, but I want them to leave me money. I mean, I do want to be clear about this.
Okay.
Like. I don't want the story to be like the Martian Manhunter took my Jeep and like I had to go to insurance. It's like I don't want my rates going up because of Martian Manhunter, right? Which is I think what will happen. In Batman's case, I buy a new Jeep. So it's and I get the cool note and the cool story. Like I could frame the note. Like it's all worth it. So so Oreos are not happening. Or what are they, Chocos?
Choco, or yeah.
So it's I'm not leaving those behind because I feel like I'm gonna try. I love Martian Manhunter just fine, but I don't see him leaving me the money. Oliver Queen, I'll leave him arrows because he'll leave money. Well, do you think Ollie would leave money? I don't see him being as polite as Batman.
I'll be honest with you. I think he may. Because you think about
Ollie's one of those guys to listen to this. Like Ollie's one of those guys that screws up at first, then he's apologetic.
Right.
So here's the problem with Ollie. I see him taking my Jeep. I see him wrecking my Jeep. I see 6 months later him recognizing the problem and maybe giving me money for my Jeep if he can track me down. Because he would want to make it right, but I don't see it being something that he would do right out of the gate. See what I mean? Batman's the one, if someone's going to take your vehicle, you want it to be Batman. Because it's proven now. It's in canon that he gives really generous amounts of money. Right then and there. You don't wait. There is no, it's a IOU. Batman carries, I'm going to steal your vehicle cash in his utility belt.
Well, here's the thing. 97,000.
Uh-huh.
Even if it's all in hundreds.
Uh-huh.
Where did he store that? Because
it's in his utility. It's his
utility. You've never seen $100,000, what it looks like. That's one of the advantages.
You also haven't seen how you store it in a utility belt. It's
true.
A utility belt. Batman's got he's got shark repellent that he keeps in there. It's Batman. Maybe he lines his cape with it.
Yeah, he would need to.
It's Batman.
Be honest, it's $100,000 in hundreds is a very. That's a lot of money.
Now you have me worried.
A lot of money.
Now you have me worried. What he's actually going to leave me is $10,000 in bat bucks, which has no currency. Did he really leave 97,438 in a note? And where's that 438? That's an interesting amount of clearly Batman stopped off at Starbucks.
My guess is
Yeah.
He has $100,000 available at any given time.
Makes sense.
So as as he needs money in the field, he's spending it. So his emergency cash that normally started off at 100 is now down to 97,438. So he just took all of it and dumped it.
Oh, it's in his boot.
He's probably got caches or all over the city.
It's in his boot.
That still would be. That wouldn't fit in his boot. You have no idea really how.
Listen, have you ever worn Batman's boots?
I've never worn Batman's boots, but I have seen $100,000.
But, like, he's got boots. He's got a utility with all these pouches. He's got the cape he can line it with. He can put some of it in the cowl if he wants to. There's lots of places Batman can store. He can wrap it around his body. Maybe that's what makes him bulletproof. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's bad. Listen, again, I'm going back to what I said before. There is one hero that I want stealing my vehicle. It's going to be Batman.
I agree.
I don't see the other ones doing what he did. Like, Ollie's got the money, yes, but he's not leaving the note and the cash right then and there. It's like you're going to spend some time waiting for that because Ollie gets scolded an awful lot for making, like, faux pas, and usually they're etiquette faux pas. When you think back to his relationships, he usually makes an etiquette faux pas. So,
see, now, for me, I would want Superman stealing my car.
He's not leaving you the money, Jim.
But I'll be honest with you. Here's what you would get with Superman.
What?
He would bring the car back fully repaired and fully restored and say, hey, I'm really sorry. Thank you for letting me borrow this. Hey, I'm like, no problem, Soup. I would have an actual one-on-one conversation. Probably say, hey, can you pose for a picture? Of course, friend. And I'd sit there and have this picture of me, arm around Superman, both of us having this great smile.
And here's the thing. I
would have that interaction with Superman.
Now, I'm not going to dispute anything you just said. I think you're right. I think you could say the same thing about Wally West and Barry Allen.
Oh, big time.
But here's the difference. I'm still going off of this piece. You get the personalized note from Batman. That's frameable, right? So I'm going to Michael's right away, and I'm framing that because it's a really cool story, right? So I've got that. I got the keepsake memento. It's like a VIP pass, right?
Yeah.
Not only that, though, I don't have to sell that on eBay. You know why I don't have to sell that on eBay? Because he's giving me $97,000. Like, he's going to give me more than what my vehicle's worth, right? So not only am I getting the new vehicle, but I got the super cool note that I can frame. Now, I get it. You don't get to hang with them the same way. I'm thinking the cookies, though, might warrant, like, I don't know, a picture. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not. No, you're right. You're right. It's like, so if you're looking for the personal experience, I get what you're going for. But you're just getting your vehicle back and the conversation with Superman. I will take the money. I will take the money and the personalized note because I'm ahead of the game now, right? So I got you're going to get your vehicle back and repaired. I'm getting a new vehicle decked out and a note from Batman.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm winning.
See, I'm going to disagree. We're going to have to agree to disagree on this one because I would rather have the interaction with Superman or with Flash because both of them would do it. That's how either of them would have handled it. And I'd have a one-on-one experience. I'd have that for me. That'd be worth it. And having my car back in perfect condition because they wouldn't just give it back to me. They'd fully restore it. So I'd have it back to brand new. So I would have a brand new car once again. Yeah. Plus, I'd have this interaction with either Superman or the Flash. For me, that's worth it. That's worth more than the $97,000.
See, I'm going to actually go. If I'm going that route, I'm still staying with my Batman one. I'm still saying Batman's number one. My number two is Wally West because I feel like Wally West would want to like you could go get like, hey Wally, you want like Mr. West, sir, you want to go get lunch? Let's go get lunch because the Flash has got to eat. So I could like hang and have lunch with the Flash. I would get my vehicle back because Wally's done that kind of work before. So we'd get it repaired. That would be my number two, would be hanging with the Flash. And I get it. I know like this is going to be one where we agree to disagree on superhero preferences, but it's the same concept. It's still my number two concept, though, the hanging with the hero. Like, I feel like from a financial standpoint, I am much better off with the Batman one. And I still got the cool superhero story. What I would like is Batman, if you're listening to this, can you please have that note verified? Like, because nobody's going to believe me unless your signature's been authenticated. So that's a piece It's really important that, like, the thing that I'm framing has some... what was at Fan Expo? There was tables where you get, like, signatures and things verified, for artwork and, so that way, it's got a little bit more oomph behind it because it's been authenticated. I don't usually care about that because usually when I get a signature from somebody, it's more the personal experience. In this case, it's the story, and nobody's going to believe me unless I've got, like, the verified signature. Because you're right, he's not going to hang out. And that's a piece that I'm going to sacrifice off of that end for the verified Batman signature. I'm not much of a Batman fan. It's the money and the Batman component. Money talks for me a little bit on this one. I'm going to be honest.
I'll tell you, this has got to be the most ridiculous conversation we've had on the show.
But here's the thing. I think it just shows, though, that, like, we've got some standards. This is a... But zipping back to the whole thing, I do love how this issue ended with Catwoman with the tigers and things like that. I thought it was really, really a cool... Like, they're nuzzling up with her. She is nuzzling... I mean, she's all in on the whole cat thing. I thought it was a cool way to frame up the ending of that sequence. It was a great art piece, and especially with what she was holding in her hand, it, like, added this whole other element of, boy, talk about security. I'm not going to go in there and say, hey, give me that eye.
Yeah. Well, not right now.
No.
Right now, she's got pretty good security around her. But, yeah. Dude, I have no idea where this story is going to go. And that's the thing I love about this story is I don't know what's next.
And we're only halfway in.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, it's the nice thing about when Tom King does these things. It's like, what is he going to do next? I just jump to anything this guy does, just because you get these kind of stories. And I mean, it's not. Let's be clear, it's not just Batman. We talked about Human Target earlier, things like that. Anything he does just has, like, just really unique and cool, interesting storytelling, where he plays around with story. And that's something that I really, really appreciate when a writer takes the time to play around with certain story tropes. So it's just a great, great series. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about this one.
You won't get away from me this time, Buster.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype. We love having you part of our show. RagingBullets@gmail.com is also our address where you can reach out to us as well. Remember our contest that I mentioned at the beginning. We have 3 prizes that we're handing out. We're handing out the Animal Man Omnibus hardcover. We're handing out the Batman Earth 1 Complete Collection trade paperback and the Superman 78 hardcover. Participation in the show is the easy way to do that, whether you do voicemails, whether you send us emails. And honestly, if there's something you're doing that didn't fall into some of the examples that I gave, that you're like, hey, I'm participating, I'm helping out, I'm shouting you guys out, or I'm doing this, I want anybody who's doing things for the show to be entered into the contest. This is really meant to be very loose, very open. It's a thank you to anybody who's been participating in the podcast, behind the scenes or out in the forefront. I love all the people that are participating on the Facebook group. I love the people that have sent us in parodies. So anything that you've done in the last month, or basically starting from May 8th till June 8th, we want counted in this one. I want to implement contests again for the show. We'll come up with another fun idea for our next contest, something a little different. But I figured for this one, I would keep it very loose and open. It's really meant to be more of a thank you, just to get our feet wet and getting contests back into the show. I've always loved doing contests on the show, and we haven't done one in a really long time. So that's the purpose of this. And there's some great books there. If you have not read any of that Animal Man work, it's outstanding. Batman Earth 1 is an amazing collection, which is great if you have it already. To have it all in one cool, complete collect edition is cool. And Superman 78 felt like another film again. So these are books that I picked out on purpose because I feel they're quality books, and they're ones that I feel I want to share with others. We're co-sponsored on that one. We're contributing to it, and it's also sponsored by our. We get a certain allotment from DCBService.com, basically for the advertising we do for them. So I decided to turn that back into a contest for the show. So I want to thank all of you for participating, and thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for helping us out with that. RagingBullets.com is our show website. That's where you can find information on episode releases. It pushes out to Twitter. It pushes out to our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community. I want to thank everyone who posts there, whether they're posting about their own blogs and reviews and things that they're doing, whether they're posting about DC news, pop culture news, comic news. Like, it was cool, the new Doctor Who, they posted that there. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, and it was cool to see that posted in our Facebook group, because I want that to be open to people talk about anything pop culture related in a safe and positive sense, and our environment, due to the quality of the people there, I think totally provides that. So thank you for everyone who participates over there. If you want to do parodies for us, comic strips like and the Where's What Not Nows, those are some of my favorites. If you haven't seen them, go to the website and click on them. There's some really clever ones that have been done in the past, and there's a lot of fun you can poke at us now, myself especially. So feel free to have fun with parodies and things like that and send those in and get another entry into the contest. We're looking for a way to thank all of you for the things you do for us to keep the show fun. So thank you for everyone who participates over there. The About Us section of the show website is where you're going to find out how to connect with us on social media and gaming platforms. And we love to interact with all of you, so please feel free to use those. Jim, we are sponsored as always by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com, including this contest. Can you tell us what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We have I Am Batman hardcover, Volume 1, 50% off, only $12.49. Joker hardcover, Volume 2, 50% off, only $12.49. And Joker Presents a Puzzle Box hardcover, 50% off, only $19.99. Thank you, DCDS.
That puzzle box story, we didn't get a chance to talk about it on the show. That's really good.
That was a good story, yeah.
Batman vs. Bigby over at InStockTrades.com. A Wolf in Gotham is 50% off, only $9.99. The DC poster portfolio by Frank Quitely, trade paperbacks, 50% off, only $12.49. Justice League hardcover, Volume 1, Prisms, 50% off, only $12.49. Thank you, DCB Service and InStockTrades.com, for continuing to support our show and quite a few other podcasts. They do a really nice job of supporting the podcasting community. Our next episode, Jim, we are going to be back and talking about two favorite books in World of Krypton and the returning Fables. We will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't
What
mean
are you
anything
trying
by
to
that.
say? I think
Sean,
you're doing it right
Jim,
now. Like, it's RBO. I don't know
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.